Does it actually take time to get to a desired point? Or is this an illusion we have created? A shared myth that we have almost all bought into. And instead of continuing to buy into it, we can let it go and we can choose to be different quickly. And we can choose for that not to be difficult. On Stories of Self, we go on journeys into the lives of ourselves and others. We see how stories connect, how they diverge, and how we can create our worlds and solve our problems. This is the real-life remix of storytelling, which is so often stranger than fiction. So come and sit around the fire, chill by the ocean, or get a coffee with me, as I delve into the stories of self that make, break, and remake us. Some stories are dramatic, some are serene, some will magically mirror you, and some will be delightfully different. I'm your host, Katie Reeve-Arnold, and this is Stories of Self. This week, I've been joining writing groups, processing the past, connecting with others with common goals through Zoom meetings, shaking up my sleep, nutrition and exercise habits, and roaming around the rice fields in the dark, lost. Sometimes it feels like life is happening to us, and sometimes it feels like a choice. When I look back, I think the dividing line for me was whether I liked something or not, whether it was turning out as I wanted. If it was, then of course it was a choice, and I took the glory of having made it. But if it wasn't, then I managed to spin the ownership into a non-existent, futile story for myself. That I had tried as hard as I could, but it was happening to me anyway. And wasn't it just terrible and so against the actions I'd made and who I was? And wasn't that unfair? The thing is that in that, I actually took my own choice away and left myself stranded on a desert island, free of blame, with no options at all. I took my inability to digest my circumstances and I dissolved my own agency in the excess acid of my indigestion. I left myself blameless but helpless, and in that I lost even more. Because it is only in the radical acceptance of our current circumstances and how we got here that we can make chosen change in any direction. I stole my own choices away from myself. It was only when I stopped doing that, when I realized that whatever happens, I have a choice about how I react and respond to it, that I started to fully stand in the ownership of my present. And in that, my future. I've been thinking about choice this week and its relationship with intention. That desire we have for choice, but our frequent difficulty with it, or even our refusal to take it at all. And the fact that often it feels like when I make a choice, I struggle to keep making it. A choice to drink 2 litres of water each day. A choice to write 1,000 words of fiction per day. A choice to rededicate myself to my yoga practice. A choice to not eat so many spoons of peanut butter straight from the jar each time I do it. I have the intention and I make the choice, but sometimes it feels so difficult to keep making that choice over and over every time. Wouldn't it be nice if there was some way we could make the choice once and then just become the person who is already in that choice? Instead of feeling stuck in the before part of the before and after, where we have to keep managing to choose to make the change over and over again. Where the decisions seem to be needed on repeat there, as opportunities and temptations arise, wouldn't it be nice to just be the person who's already made that choice, and so no longer needs to face it afresh again? Am I explaining that? Well, when I talked with my yoga guru about it, he said, it's easy, just jump out of it. I have to admit, it sounded easy when he said it. But how? How could I just jump out of it? How could I move from everything needed constant choice to being done as soon as I chose it? This week, the topic came up for me several times, and I started to feel paradigm shifts in how I was experiencing my days because of the changes in how I was experiencing the process of choice. A lot of people who know me know that since I was a very little girl, I've been very fond of the idea of following the white rabbit, which is the way I personally refer to allowing life's twists, turns, and synchronous serendipitous connections to guide me and bring new things into my life. When I am open to that, it tends to bring in a spontaneity and presence that I love, but I can find I absent-mindedly shy away from. At the improv class this week, the improv class that I nearly didn't attend after my friends dropped out of it last minute because they couldn't come, I actually met someone who invited me to an intentional dinner he was holding. With only a few hours' notice and a full day of commitments, I considered saying no. I even wrote "I'm sorry, I can't, I'm just really busy today, I would love to next time" text message. But as my thumb paused over send, I suddenly realized that this was both true and false. I did have a busy day with a lot going on, but actually, I could make the time for the dinner if I chose to. So I paused, and then chose to go, to play the hand I'd been dealt differently by choice, rather than fold out of habit. But what even was an intentional dinner? I didn't really know. All I knew was that it was potluck, which is where everyone brings a dish to share. And there would be a topic of conversation to discuss openly together with a group of people who had mostly never met before at all. And intentional is the focus. It is set and chosen against the flow of existence, drawing together people who likely may never have met otherwise, ships that pass in the night. And in that intention, it creates a flow all of its own, that tattoos in step with drums of life as they beat louder, as if applauding the ingenuity of choice. But isn't that one of the huge paradoxes of life? How to both go with the flow and be the intentional owner of the creation of our existence. I find it difficult to balance the two, and I have, in the past, been tempted to claim whichever suits me more as the victor. For that moment anyway, until the wind changes and it suits me more to favour the other. The dinner also caused me to consider how much do I do out of habit. I had nearly declined it out of habit after all. So how much do we do by habit? Both good habits, like eating healthily and saying thank you to the bus driver, that's a very Irish one, and bad habits that we have and want to maybe get rid of. But actually, is any habit good? Because to act by habit is to not be in full awareness of what we're doing. For an autopilot to take over flying the plane of our existence, and for us no longer to be in full dynamic ownership of our choices. And in that autopilot mode, don't we often find ourselves taking a sojourn from the present into the future or the past, or into another location entirely, wondering what is happening, what will happen, what should happen, what could happen, raking over the past to uncover the uneven, bald bumps of our mistakes and regrets, and instead of letting them advise us, heal, and letting them go, we poke them, keeping the wounds open and letting them bleed. In slipping into habits, we slip away from the moment we truly live in. I'm not saying not to be advised by the past, but, like a child, learn, get up, and go on. Children fall over and over and over, but they are always ready to try again to take their first steps. It never occurs to them that because it hasn't worked up until now, then they could judge it never would. They realize the chosen change lies within them. So I intentionally chose the intentional dinner, headed off into the dark with a box of food to share, feeling my way down the small winding back path with the lianas and vines arcing over my head, to meet a motor taxi down by the river, zooming into the rice fields with no idea where I was going. My eyes widened as the paths grew thinner and bumpier and darker. And when he dropped me at my destination and the people there declared it was very much not my destination, I did wonder how well the spontaneous night was going to go. But I rang the host and he came out to meet me, and I arrived to an atmosphere of soft candlelight reflecting and twinkling off the pool, and soft voices rustling through the palm trees. In this dinner, the stage was set in the warm night under the stars, and the echoes of philosophical salons of the Renaissance whispered alongside the light piano music. And we all sat there, by choice, and interacted in a calm, chosen way, to hear and be heard. And it was blissful. So, what is it to be intentional? What is it to make a choice? And not to just keep to what you've chosen by force or will or habit, but to actually feel changed, as if a paradigm shift has occurred, and in making the choice, you actually became what you chose. To stand blinking in the light of your new world without any desire to go back. No effort needed to maintain your chosen path, because you are no longer the person you once were who wished to follow that path, and instead, you are a new person for whom that path is not just their choice, but their nature. And is it possible to reach into that capacity for a quantum shift of chosen change in a selective way whenever you want? Does it actually take time to get to a desired point, or is this an illusion we have created? A shared myth that we have almost all bought into, and instead of continuing to buy into it, we can let it go, and we can choose to be different quickly. And we can choose for that not to be difficult. From small choices to taking that big leap we want to. Stepping forward without knowing how it will turn out because we understand that we don't actually need to know because we trust ourselves. Being able to juggle doing several things across the same time period without trying to do them all exactly at once. And instead of being able to truly focus and be in each when we decide to. This then is the essence of the paradigm shifts that I've been feeling all week. But how do we get there? Well, I tried making it the goal, and that didn't work. It was actually only when I stepped into enjoying being in the process of change and surrendered to the challenge of change that I found this desired state of jumping out of it. Or indeed jumping into something, if that was the desired choice. Only then did it start to actually happen for me in an instant, or sometimes overnight, chosen way. I've been feeling these shifts for a week now, and it has brought a lot of ease and peace to my life, no matter whether the circumstances I'm dealing with are easy and peaceful or not. I'm no longer trying to be who I am or who I want to be. Things are happening more quickly, and I am being both the person I truly am and the version of me I want to be. And there is no more trying to make the good choice. Instead, it feels effortless and easy. What do you think about the idea of jumping out of or into something? I'm loving it. We are all telling our stories. And we are all telling ourselves stories about it all. Are you brave enough to walk with me into hearing, considering, and understanding the stories we tell? Join me next time, where we'll be considering more stories and illusions and stepping into creating the freedom we desire. Every moment, we are who we are choosing to be. You choose. Choose you, because your story matters.